This week on Big Red's Cooking, chicken stir fry. Hi and welcome back to Big Red's Cooking. As always, I'm Big Red. So, another hat on. It's a busy time of the year for me. Days are getting shorter. This evening I was out walking my dogs. I'm hungry. It's getting late. I want something good to eat. Chicken stir fry. It's a really quick, simple meal to make, much less complicated than you might actually think it is. And this is going out to a couple of friends. So, you know what? I'm not even going to bother talking much longer here. I'm just too hungry. It's cold out, it's wet, it's raining. I've just gotten back, like I say, I've just gotten back from a 7K walk with the dogs. So let's just go ahead and jump on the bench over there and we'll pick up, over at my favorite work spot. Alright, so I've already got my rice started. You can go back, look at some of my older videos, if you want to learn more about cooking rice. So while that's cooking, that's going to take about 20 minutes. It just came to a simmer actually, just as I was getting ready to start this. So I know I got about 20 minutes to get everything done. Now I do want to thank Nikki and I want to thank Samantha for the ideas for this video. A little shout out to the two of them. And I want to give a little shout out to a buddy of mine, Sean, as well. And he sent me a message. So one thing that you may have heard me say a lot in some of my videos is I've talked about mise en place. Mise en place, I believe, directly translates to everything in its place, or in its place, something along that line. But it's a common used term in kitchens to talk about all the stuff that you sort of need to prepare a dish. And that can be everything from having your tools handy, to having your vegetables, to actually having the work done to your vegetables and things like that. So whenever you hear me talk about mise en place, it's all that thing. It's been my experience. One of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make is that they go and turn that stove on before they're ready and they don't have everything ready to go. So with this dish, I'm actually going to start by cooking the chicken, then we'll add in our vegetables, finish with our sauce. So I tend to prep my stuff in reverse order, and then I also want to work with the stuff that's safest to sit around for the longest time. If I'm handling vegetables, it's no problem for me to then handle raw chicken. I handle raw chicken, I've got to take the time then to wash up my hands before I go handling any of my vegetables and things like that. So I tend to think about that kind of stuff. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started with our vegetable here now. And I just realized, shortage of my mise en place, I didn't grab an onion, so I'm going to grab one of those really quickly. And so I think of course, I always give our knife a wipe after we use our steel. We don't want any steel ending up in our food. So I'm actually going to start with my onion. Now again, if you see any vegetables here that you don't like, don't use them. Cooking really, and food really should be about pleasure. We should enjoy what we're eating. And there's nothing here that's essential to this recipe. Again, focus on the technique. Look at what I'm doing. If you don't like chicken, use beef, use moose, whatever. You don't like one of the vegetables, leave it out. There's something else you like, add it in. It's not the end of the world, folks. Now personally, I love a lot of onion no matter what. So even though I'm just cooking this for me, I'm using a whole onion. So I'm just going to push that to the side because I'm just going to end up leaving all my vegetables right here on my cutting board. And then I can just take them right off the cutting board to be able to put them into the pan. And of course, you've heard me say before about my love of garlic. So I'm using 2 nice big cloves of garlic. because 1 clove of garlic is not enough for any recipe, even if the recipe was for 1 clove of garlic. And push that up to the black. There's a few carrots, never go stray. Get that nice bright color in. Now, stir fry really should be a nice quick cooking item. Obviously, carrots can take a little bit of time to cook. So we want to slice these carrots really nice and thin. I'm going to do what we call slicing on the bias. That's sort of slicing on an angle. That's going to give me a nice big broad piece. And so it's going to look nice, but we want to go nice and thin on these. So I don't know how well you can see that, but you can see it sort of cut on that angle. Like I said, we call that slicing on the bias. Put that to the side. Of course, I think a bit of celery. I'm not a huge fan of celery, but I do think it adds a lot to a stir fry, and I've already washed this. Actually, I don't think I'm going to use both pieces. I think I'll just use one. And again, I'm going to slice this on that bias. And just like with that carrot, we want that to be able to cook nice and quick, to be able to retain that crispness, so we want to go nice and thin. Right there. Next we got our pepper. I give that a quick rinse. And again, I do have a whole video about prepping peppers. I tend to like to take the top, the bottom, and then just sort of slice right on through. And that allows me to get rid of all that center and all the seeds without too much issue. Now I'm going to reserve these pieces. I'll actually be doing a fried rice video the next day or two. I'll end up using those, and I'm going to use about a half pepper. And again, if you don't like bell peppers, or if you don't like the orange ones, go for green, go for red, you know, whatever works for you. I'll put that to the side. Got to get a bit of color in there. We'll get some nice little florets. Put that up there. Now, I'm going to guess a lot of you would end up throwing away your broccoli stem. Not me. The center of that broccoli stem is actually fantastic. Oh, and look. Watch this. This guy loves carrot. You heard me slice up the carrot, so I'll give him a little treat. So I tend just to take the bottom off, top off. And then what I like to do is just sort of, I want to get rid of the outside. The outside is very, very fibrous and very tough. It won't cook up so great down that bottom stem. So I tend just to sort of, you know, rotate it around and slice off a good chunk of that stuff. And you'll notice you get to the inside core and it's a lot more tender. And again, just like with everything else, I'm just going to slice this on the bias and nice and thin. And what you'll find is that that broccoli center ends up almost like an asparagus type flavor to it. Oh, there's my Tala. She wants a piece of carrot now too. Alright, go on now. No more. Just push that to the side. We get that in there. Now, I got some lovely black oyster mushrooms here. Now again, you don't have these. You don't like mushrooms? Don't put mushrooms in. All you got is just plain old mushrooms. Go for it. Again, there's no rules with this. Slice that up a little bit. And then our last is our ginger. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to end up peeling this up, because I'm going to use my grater and I'm going to grate it right on in afterwards. And that's going to mean I don't have any big chunks of ginger, but it's also going to allow me to have a bit more of an intense ginger flavor. Now, as a general rule, anytime we're using any of our aromatics, whether it's garlic, ginger, things like that, the smaller the piece that we put in, the more flavor, the more intense the flavor will be. And I love that ginger flavor, especially on stir fries. So I like to grate it right down into my dish. Alright, so there's all of our vegetable mise en place done. So we can see we got our broccoli, we got our nice sliced up peppers here, we got our garlic, our celery, our onion, our carrots, our mushrooms, and our broccoli centers. So I'm just actually going to shift this right onto the side over here. I've got this cutting board, which I always use for my poultry. And again, I don't like to take any chances or any risks when it comes to food poisoning or potential food contamination. So I have a specific cutting board. The only thing I ever use this for is poultry, and anytime I'm slicing poultry, it's what I use this for. So I just got a good old-fashioned chicken breast here. So I'm going to cut this in probably 1/2-inch cubes. I guess handling raw poultry, I'm going to immediately get rid of this knife, get rid of this bowl, and wash up my hands. Or actually, I'm going to save the knife so I can scrape that down into the pan. So of course I've got my lovely wok. Like many a Canadian kid, I grew up watching Wok with Jan. That was one of my favorite shows, and I love doing stir fries in a wok. There's just something a little bit different about it. One of the big popular YouTubers these days, one of my personal favorites, a guy by Uncle Roger. If you've never heard of him, check him out. And he loves cooking with his wok and feels like fried rice and other dishes must be cooked in a wok. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of vegetable oil. And then anytime I'm doing a stir fry, I always add sesame oil as well. Just adds that little bit extra flavor. What you want to do is see some nice browning. You want to see some color developing on that chicken. That's going to take you a couple of minutes. You want to see that chicken turning nice and light golden brown type color. So now that my chicken is cooked, I'm going to add in my onion. A lot of people just throw everything in at once. That's been my experience. And when we do that, we end up with a little bit more of a muddled flavor. Things cook at different amounts of time. Now that the carrot's been in for a moment, I'm going to go ahead and add the onion I mean. I'm going to go ahead and add my carrots in. Next I'll add my celery. So really what I'm doing is that I'm adding stuff in based on how long it's going to take to cook. So the things that take a little longer, we add first. Ideally we want everything to sort of be at about the same level of doneness when we're finished. So next I'll add in my broccoli stem. And we'll go ahead and add our broccoli in. And I'll add my garlic in. I'll throw our peppers in. Oh, this is smelling so wonderful. The garlic is starting to cook now and getting all the flavor from all those other vegetables, especially that onion, one of my personal favorites. You know, if you notice your pan getting a little bit dry, you know, go ahead and add a little bit extra oil into it. Now, we don't want this drowning in oil, but we want our stuff frying. It is called a stir fry. And now we'll go ahead and add our mushrooms in. And that rice is looking nice. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I can grab my rasp here. And we'll go ahead and we'll grate some of our ginger right down into this. Now if you don't have one of these, feel free to go ahead and chop it up nice and fine and add it in that way. Okay, so I'm going to give that a moment. Now we're going to work on our sauce. So I've got about a cup of chicken stock here. I'm going to add some of my soy sauce. Now I'm not actually using sort of the standard V8 soy sauce, which is really salty. This is actually called a Superior Light soy sauce. I find it's got a lot more flavor and is way less salty. I'm going to go ahead and add some cornstarch into this. We'll get that little whisk together. And then as this cooks, this will thicken up for us and it'll give us that nice saucy sort of texture. Okay, so we can see our sauce is nice and thickened. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off there now. I'll give this a little taste and adjust for final seasoning. Now we did have salt from our soy sauce, so I probably won't have to add a lot of salt. But I want to check just in case. That's plenty salty for me. Alright, so our rice is looking nice. Let's serve up a portion of it. I always like to fluff up my rice a little bit. Let some of that steam come out. And what I'm actually going to do, get some sesame seeds here. I'm actually just going to get this a little sprinkle of sesame seed right over the top. Adds a little extra flavor, little crunch, things like that. You got that sesame oil in there already. So why don't we move on over back to our bench over here, our counter. We'll get a better look at this plate and we'll give this a taste. So doesn't that look wonderful? Ah, smells so good. Let's give this a little taste. Of course, I got my chopsticks. That ginger, oh, amazing. I don't know if you can hear the crunch of the top of the broccoli is perfectly cooked. Still a little bit of crunch to that stem. Same thing with our peppers, they're not soggy, they're not completely wilted. The chicken is nice and moist, it's tender. The rice is perfect. Gotta get some of that mushroom. Just fantastic. So you can see, really quick, really simple. You don't need a lot of products that you don't have at home already. It's a great way of making a little bit of chicken stretch a long way. You can get away with doing one chicken breast for 2 people with this meal, obviously depending on the size of the chicken breast. So again, I want to thank Sam and Nikki for suggesting, independently actually of each other, even though they're friends and I know them both. But they both messaged me at different times and said, I'd love to see you do a chicken stir fry. So it's a great little idea. Thank you to Sean for asking me to mention about that mise en place. So if there's anything you want to know about, whether it's something I've talked about in the video or there's a recipe you'd love to see me do, I got onto this because of one of my cousins, Taylor. And I'll be doing fried rice for him. He asked me for a bunch of different rice recipes. So if there's anything you'd love to see me do, please, message me, get a hold of me somehow, send me, if you like my video, leave a comment down below. Please share these videos. I'm trying to build an audience. I've got some other good ones coming up. I'm gonna have some Christmas themed ones soon, including one on make it a little easier to cook your turkey at Christmas time. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate anyone who does come back and watches my videos over and over again. As always, I hope you really are enjoying some great food. I hope you've learned something from this. And I hope to hear you, or see you back here, I guess, next time around. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.